when Danielle was doing her initial research with the force plates and I saw what was going on because I was there and queried her, so I believe I might have been a little forward and asked, could I be one of your experimenters? So I was one of the original people that she started getting her data from.
I was involved in the group that was initially tested by Danielle. At that point we knew something was being measured because there was strange instruments and test equipment around, but I wasn't aware what.
And I perchance happened to stop by and have a look at the computer to see what was happening, because none of us quite understood what was going on at that time. And she had just captured some extraordinary pieces of data.
And the idea was to put an individual or a subject on a force plate. It's a fancy word for a device that measures weight. What she was seeing from the result, as a result of her experiments, was that the weight of a subject could be dramatically increased by several pounds or dramatically decreased by several pounds over a short period of time.
So I'm looking at the science, I'm looking at the effects, I'm looking at how humans have an effect on the gravitational and electromagnetic field around them. How is that so? How can it be that that has never been observed or recognized by science before? Because they weren't looking for it.
Every individual alters the gravitational field around them. I mean, that brings up thousands and thousands of questions.
There was enough interest in the fact that I had recorded some anomalous gravitational and electromagnetic data to invite me to submit an abstract and then later on a paper for the American Institute of Physics sponsored conference proceedings.
I was attending the STAFE conference at Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's the major conference that looks at space technology and associated types of research. On this occasion, Danielle's work created an enormous interest, and at the end of her presentation, she undertook a demonstration of the work that she performed. She brought along one of her experimental assistants who basically sat on a load measuring cell, and over the space of, I guess, 15 or 20 minutes, that load was demonstrated quite clearly in the instrumentation to change. Now that, of course, should not happen.
She captured the interest of a lot of aerospace engineers and program managers who had never seen this kind of work before, and especially not in a space technology forum.
There was one particular scientist who returned 8 times to read the board and watch the screens.
And the conference attendees, all of them, gathered around the demonstration to see precisely what was going on. They couldn't believe, really, the numbers that were coming out of the instrumentation.
What she is doing is achieving measured effects and measuring them at a large enough magnitude that is no longer a statistically marginal data point. It is now an effect that's several factors or even orders of magnitudes above the statistical marginal limits.
I had demonstrated previously unobserved and unrecognized anomalous interface between the gravitational electromagnetic fields in human beings. This was of interest.
If they weren't interested, they wouldn't stand there and ask questions. They would just go, well, that's nice, and walk on. But they were there, I mean, hours.
And there followed a very, very lively discussion where all the top scientists in the field were exchanging views on how the instrumentation could be improved, what was really being measured. That was a scientific conference at its best, and quite unusual in my experience.
We're not affiliated with academic environments intentionally, so that we do have the freedom and the latitude to explore these previously unexplored areas. We are also not affiliated with government agencies in which this type of research has always been previously protected.
Our interest is to get the information out to the world, not to hold anything back.
So that science can look at it and say, okay, if this is so, then what questions do I have to ask the work in terms of the work I'm doing?
If Danielle's results were shown unequivocally to be correct, that would be absolutely revolutionary. It would completely revolutionize our current thinking about mass and weight.
Studying human ability and looking at it through the eyes of natural science, and to begin to expand the models of natural science by including the nature of human being within the natural sciences, is the future of science.
We're basically at the beginning, at the forefront of a new understanding of certain aspects that we haven't understood before. Because science has always been understood in the sense of it's replicable, and the environment we can measure in a very replicable way. What we haven't understood is the effect of the observer. So our impact on the environment, the other way around.
Anomalous behavior is still behavior in nature. And if we're calling it anomalous, it means we're not yet accounting for it by our theorems, by the model that we're using. And therefore, we need to create a broader understanding that can account for it in the language of science.
Who would have thought that with your focus, you can impact the gravitational field? Who would have thought that with your focus, you have immeasurable, tremendous impact on the surrounding electromagnetic field? Nobody. So why is it important? Well, to a large extent, we don't know yet why it is important, but the fact that we have the impact, where in traditional science, the understanding was more around that the environment has an impact on us. Where that goes, who knows? I don't know where it's going to go. But it's fascinating that we can have that impact, and it's worthwhile investigating further.
Northwest Frontier Research Institute is on the cutting edge of the kinds of science that will be developed in the next 30 to 50 to 100 years. We are the cutting edge. We are the leaders in this field. And we're the only ones looking at this science and this research from previously unobserved and unrecognized perspectives.
Here's a new path of scientific evidence that can be used also for potential business applications. How? It's yet to be determined.
We have our gravity experiment over there, and we have our calorimetry for measuring fusion device performance here.
This experiment is a super sensitive experiment to test the force of gravity at very ultra low. Just think of the infinite possibilities of things that can be done, new applications that can arise, new sorts of consumer devices, new sorts of medical devices. We don't know. We won't ever know unless institutes like hers can get funding so she can move forward.
As far as Danielle's work is concerned, it's important that she maintains her lab so that people who want to go to see what she's doing can say, can we visit your lab and talk about your results, and let's see the work going on. And that's another reason why it's important for her research institute to receive continued funding.
The people that are going to be interested in supporting this research are the ones that are eager to see science move forward and integrate the human element back into the natural sciences.
It's the people who look at things differently and have the minds to see a different possibility that create change, and it's always been that way. And I think we're at another one of these moments, and I think that Danielle is one of those people.
The impact on what this organization can do, what the Institute can do, bringing this forward into the public, I think is immense. We can be a part of a new paradigm in science, or defining a new type of science.
It's an inquiry into nature. And I think it was Socrates who said the unexamined life is not worth living. And is there another examination that can be more interesting than the one into your very own nature?
Perhaps we will find that it is the human itself that is the missing link between our understanding of the big and the small. Perhaps it is that humanity itself will demonstrate itself to be what's been missing in our understanding of unification. Perhaps it is that we will find that human potential itself will, as it develops, as the study of the human potential develops, that many of our big questions in science can begin to be answered.